welcome to another edition of Very Vogue with me, Val Kleinhans. We chat social media here. We chat a little bit of music, style, fashion, all the above. And this episode is no different. We have Jamila Anahata in the building. The Soulful Veganista is here because I started following her due to the love of metal. And then it turned into, whoa, she's speaking about shadow work. She's talking about being your best self. We're here for it. We love it. We want to find out more. So, Jamila, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, so like I said, what first brought me to your page was the love of metal. So who are you into? I've heard a lot on your page.
Oh my gosh, it is so hard because I'm such an old school death metal head.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love Black and Death. I like black metal. It's not completely my thing, but I really just have a love of brutal slamming death metal. So
Mhm.
I would definitely say my favorite band ever. I try not to have favorite bands like, the top tier one, like the number one, because really, what does that mean? However, my favorite band has to be Incantation. Like
Mhm.
I noticed that even when I go out and listen to my typical playlist of like Defeated Sanity, Cryptopsy, Goat Whore,
Yeah.
Immolation, Suffocation, Obituary, Death. It just the list goes on and on when it comes to that. But I always come back to them and it feels like I'm home. I can't explain
Yeah.
it. I think especially since the frontman, John McEntee, is such an awesome person. Not
Oh.
only is he an awesome person, but his wife is an awesome person. She's like really into horror art and all those types of things. So
Oh.
yeah, going back to the topic at hand, I have to say that Incantation is probably my favorite band. They just get it. They're raw, they're brutal, they're old school, and it just hits every time for me.
Yeah. Obituary is on my list of bucket
Oh
list
yeah.
of shows for the remainder of the year because they're touring with them on a Mars later this year. And I'm like, need to add that to my list. So
Oh
they're
yes.
they're definitely there. I'm more of a Florida death metal fan personally. We got Cannibal
Mm.
Corpse and Death itself. But like,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
So
love it.
that's kind of where I go most of the time, and then sometimes I'll go to like odd 80s hair metal when I feel like it. When I
That's
just like
awesome.
driving with the windows down.
Yeah, why not?
But this time of year it's typo negative for sure. This time of year it's typo negative. A lot of that.
I love how you said this time of year because I noticed that I also have like my seasonal things.
Hmm.
Like for around this time, I'm really into, I mean, it's metal all day, every day for me. I have my other genres I listen to, of course,
Yeah.
but metal is a thing for me. It's a lifestyle. However, I definitely love to listen to more like psychobilly, rockabilly,
Mhm.
horror punk around this time of year.
Yeah.
So I feel you on that.
1000%. How did you
Mhm.
fall in love with metal to begin with? How were you introduced to it?
Honestly, Val, it feels like I was born. I feel like it's in my DNA, to be honest. But really, if I could like make it short, growing up, my dad would always listen to Jimi Hendrix
Mm,
and, things of that nature, just like that type of classic rock. And he would listen to like Boston or Cream or Yes or things like that. Of course, with funk and things, which I love. I love funk. But he would listen to things along those lines. And when I started being able to discover my own forms of music, my own form of expression, like around early middle school, mid middle school, that gravitated me naturally towards like Black Sabbath,
right.
Iron Maiden. I was really just Aussie in general, but it really got me into that classic rock and AC/DC. Like naturally, I went into that listening to Jimi Hendrix and knowing that there were other people who were inspired by him or just rock. I just love rock. And once I like got into that, when I was absolutely hooked. I would try to get like my friend to burn me CDs of like different, metal bands.
Right.
I would just try to find any type of metal I could as a youngin, and being a black chick, that was
Right.
kind of rare because I didn't have anyone I could really connect to at the time, which is fine. It'd be like that sometimes. But I had to really do my own research and I'm not even mad because I found once again, you said Cannibal Corpse, and I'm going to be seeing them in November, by the way. So
Nice.
excited. Yeah, I got onto Cannibal Corpse. I learned about Opeth. I learned
Mm,
about who else was like a gateway band like for me at the time. Like bands of the like. I'm not really into metalcore, but metalcore got me into death metal
yeah.
because like when I was like in my early teens. But Yeah, it really all comes from my dad liking rock growing up and it just rubbing off on me, so clearly it's in my blood.
Right, one rock
Mhm.
sound follows another. It's interesting. Like, my mom kinda did the same thing with George Clinton, Parliament, all that. I heard that guitar sound, and then it goes to turns into Prince, and then somehow it turns into Eddie Van Halen is the guy that played on Beat It, and then it's like,
Ye
"Wait a minute, I wanna find out more about this Eddie Van Halen guy," and then
yes.
it's just a whole world of guitar sound opened up. That is so it was
Mhm.
gradual for me, kinda like that. Same thing.
Absolutely, and the fact that you said P-Funk, that you said George Clinton, I cannot believe you said that because I swear, outside of metal or rock or whatever, that's probably one of my favorite bands, and I will always love P-Funk.
It's just there is
Always.
sound, yeah, there is sound that I've never heard, come out of anywhere else, and, I mean, that was
Yes.
my mom's era, that them and Casey and the Sunshine Band,
Yep.
Jeffrey Osborne, all that,
Yes.
that's her era, that's kinda what she was playing in the house, so
Mhm.
I kinda latched onto it from that, and then found my own, did my own deep dive on guitar. That was just the
Exactly.
sound that I was gravitated towards, so it's really interesting to see how that happens. It's cool.
I love it. I love to hear it.
In your
Yeah.
bio on Instagram, you list yourself as a witch. And that term, some people have this idea in their head of what it is, but it's not always correct. So,
Right.
how do you, in your own words, explain what that means as you use that term?
Absolutely. Let me see if I can try to shorten this because once again, people think, they have their misconceptions of that, but what
Right.
I see a witch is like what we would think back in the day, like during Game of Thrones times, as, a medicine woman.
Mm,
Somebody who uses the earth's elements, like water, earth, air, fire, her spiritual knowledge, her connection to divine, her, knowledge of self, her knowledge of consciousness, her yeah, once again, connection to the universe and to source energy, and uses it to get what she wants, and to me, it's the most empowered state that someone can be as a feminine aligned person or woman, because I'm not gonna get too much into it, but being a woman is a really powerful thing,
mm,
whether however you identify, however anyone identifies, but just like the womb space and just what our power really is, like through conditioning, we forgot along the way, and it's okay, not our fault, but there's just so much power in being a woman and being that connected to the universe and to the earth, and using the earth's elements and connecting to that vibration of the earth. You're
mhm,
able to to attract and seduce anything you want. That's why I talk a lot about seduction, and shadow work and all those things because, when you wanna manifest something, you have to seduce it. You have to become aligned. You have to or you become attractive to your desires and whoever you want when you are aligned with the vibration of it. So what
mm.
I call myself a witch because I'm so connected to divine naturally, and I've taught myself to be this way, and I use it to my advantage, and I'm not scared to show it, and it just so happens that I like goth fashion, and I like dark things, horror, metal, I like
Right.
all those things. So people can call it they can claim it with that as they want to, but really it's just my spiritual abilities and connection to the universe that makes me a witch.
Yeah, I see you in a lot of reels talking about, not just well, essentially being your own person and
Yeah.
finding who the core of you really is, and
Mhm.
using whether it's dark femininity, which I thought was a very interesting topic. I did watch that YouTube video.
Ooh,
I
thank
that
you.
I did no, I did because I was like, this is maybe me because I've always felt a little bit more androgynous than
Mhm.
some other women. I mean, I like girly things,
Right,
but I like a dark aesthetic. And for
right.
you to explain how it just you explained it very clearly in that video. And
Mm.
I think you like to teach other people to be themselves best selves and how to get what they want, or you just like to boost confidence. I see that
Yes.
in a lot of your reels, especially. Is so it sounds like that's pretty much behind your feeling about being a witch. That's the
Mhm,
purpose of it for you. Even though you might not be using the word witch all the time,
mhm.
that's your purpose. That's your message on social media and in life. Is that fair to say?
First of all, thank you so much for all that. I appreciate you. And second of all, absolutely. It has nothing to do with my aesthetic, even though I do like to look witchy. You know, I ain't even mad. I like to look
Not
creepy
mad
and
either.
evil. I mean, however, yeah, it's really all about empowering and uplifting other people to live authentically and to undo all the conditioning that has made us feel like we're not worthy of getting what we want in this life, or that we're less than, or that we're inferior, or that we're just not deserving of nice things or not deserving of respect or love, but we were all born worthy and deserving, but we've been conditioned out of that, naturally. And that's my mission. That is what I was born to do, is to empower others to live authentically and to get what they want energetically.
Yeah. A
Mhm.
couple of pieces of content of yours talk about shadow work specifically, but I'm not sure I totally understand what it means or how to best describe it. Can you walk us through that for anybody that has no clue?
Absolutely. I actually just kind of did some actually. So I'll probably do an explanation of that and go deeper into it. So that's what I want to talk more about. I'm in a transition phase of what I want to really do and monetize with my content.
Mhm.
But what I would really wanna do is, teaching people how to do shadow work, and that is basically learning all the limiting beliefs that hold you back from getting what you want, because
Mm,
abundance is in the air. Abundance, you are not cut off from abundance. We all can experience abundance, and we do really in a lot of ways. But when we're cut off from that, by manifesting or thinking that we are not deserving or once again unworthy of things based on our conditioning and our upbringing and just our life experiences, a lot of the time we don't even understand that we have those fears or those trauma responses or anything like that. And shadow work helps you understand where they come from and why it happens and why you can allow it to dissolve, because sometimes emotions like that cannot be resolved, but we can try to dissolve it. So for example, like not even 40 minutes ago, I noticed that there were some feelings coming up, and in order to be doing your shadow work practice, you do have to be very present. That's not easy for a lot of people, but that's
mhm,
something I also like to teach. So you have to be very, very present in your body, realizing what kind of resistance is in our body, like any type of tension, any type of like gut reaction we have. So I noticed I was having a weird gut reaction about something, just lingering feelings. And instead of just like allowing it to slide, that a lot of us do off based off of autopilot,
mm,
um, I we have to face it. We have to face it. It might be uncomfortable because we've been taught that emotions are scary. We're not allowed to feel. Feeling is weak. All those types of that, all that nonsense that makes absolutely no sense. But when you do your shadow work, and something that I did was, instead of running away from those feelings and running away from that resistance, I allowed myself to sit, and because it was irritating me, I can't lie. Because
mm,
usually I'm able to affirm myself out of it because I've been changing my beliefs. I've been
mhm,
doing my shadow work. But like I sat down and I tried to meditate for 2 seconds. Not tried, I did meditate for 2 seconds. And I was just like, inner being, please allow me to understand like where this resistance is coming from. I
mm,
allowed myself to completely feel it all over my body. I allowed myself to have a mental picture of whatever those fears may be. I allowed myself to just allow it to dissolve, because that's what emotions do. They come and they go. They don't stay
mm,
forever. So instead of like allowing that to pile on, that the emotional garbage pile that we've had for years and years and years based off of being scared to feel, you face those emotions head on, realize where those limiting beliefs come from, and remind yourself they don't exist. They were
yeah,
there based off of that experience. That experience is not happening to you anymore, and that fear is a liar,
mm.
basically.
We
So
don't know
hopefully
her.
exactly. Fear where? You know what
We
I
don't know
mean?
her, period.
Exactly, exactly. So, hopefully that made sense, but that's basically what it is, understanding what's lurking in your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is basically everything you attract. It's
Yeah.
95% of your mind, and, it allows your stomach to beat. Wow, that's what I was gonna say. It allows your heart to beat, it allows your stomach to digest. It does everything for you, and it also is, like, what creates things for you. So if you get your subconscious mind in check, if you program it to do your bidding and like for success and even just for good self dialogue, you're
Mhm.
able to see that your reality changes for the better.
Yeah. This sounds
Mhm.
like the next level up from just mindfulness. Because
Yes.
mindfulness I practiced a lot when I was in an outpatient therapy program because I was going we need a minute. Well,
Yes.
I went through a rough time.
Right.
And but one of the things that they teach you as a therapeutic exercise is just mindfulness, period. And it was a very simple version of treating emotions like waves. Let them
Mhm.
come, let them go, but we don't really do anything with them. They're just kind of there, and it's okay to leave them there. That's what I was taught. What you're describing is the next level. It's challenging and questioning, okay, what's up with this? Why is this here? What are we doing with this? Does this really mean anything? It's questioning it. It's investigating it.
Yes, absolutely. It's not allowing things to just slide for the sake of comfortability and convenience or the sake of being go go go.
Mhm.
It's prioritizing your mental health really. It's prioritizing your spiritual needs because that is what holds us back from doing what we want and at the end of the day. And I'm not trying to blame anyone or shame anyone or whatever, but I'm at a point in my life where I don't like to complain about my situation unless I'm geared up to do something about it. A
Mm,
lot of people like to complain and not do anything about it, but it's their fears, it's their traumas, it's their experiences, their negative whatever they feel about themselves that prevents them from making this change because they feel like deep down they're not deserving of it. So when you once again like what you said, when you basically acknowledge your emotions, acknowledge where they came from, acknowledge that they're real, allow them to rise and pass, you're doing yourself such a great service because you're not letting yourself be your own roadblock anymore.
yeah,
You're going for it and you know that you're able to do it because you can. You're allowed to.
right. When you put
Mhm.
out messages like that on social media and you feel like you're helping somebody, have you ever gotten like a DM or a comment or somebody saying, "Thank you for this. I needed this." How do you know that you truly help somebody with what you're doing?
Wow, that is such a great question. I never thought about that because I don't get any bad feedback at all. I'm not even just affirming this, I'm confirming this.
Right.
I get like no negative comments and I'm very blessed, very blessed. However, yeah, when I know I've really helped someone, I think it's when, I realize that it was me holding myself, like things like that. It usually is kind of sometimes clothing related. But, I
Yeah.
want people to get that's perfectly fine. That's a great
Yeah.
starting. So, like, I haven't gotten to the place where people talked about grander things, which is perfectly fine because I'm going to get to that point because that's what I plan on doing with my, time online in the
Mhm.
future. But that's when I know that I've helped someone when they acknowledge that it was them holding themselves back, not society, not their parents, not their peers, but them.
Yeah. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to look at ourselves and go, what is it that I'm doing? I mean, we talked about people complaining and just being irritated by it. I counted how many coworkers did that thousands of times a day, and I'm just over at my desk, like, please keep your energy to yourself. I cannot.
Over
Let me
there.
vent. Like,
I feel you on that.
I'm like, I cannot because it just ruins the whole vibe. And I'm like, oh, it does, not just for me, but for everybody. Nobody has time for that. Nobody wants to hear that. Why do we want to be doing that? We don't.
Exactly, and it's kind of like, okay, maybe these energies just connected, but it's like, that's not how I connect with people. I connect with
Mm,
people through, like, desire, through ascension, through growth, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
that's not saying that I can't have certain conversations with people. However, I don't respond well, and it doesn't feel good for me, especially as someone who's a Pisces sun and moon. I don't
Mm,
feel good with interacting with, that type of negative energy. Like, if you're
no.
not trying to say anything uplifting, and you're just gonna sit here and be in a circle of negativity, just like trying to make yourself miserable, because that's a lot of the time people just like to make themselves miserable unconsciously, not a lot of their fault,
Yeah.
understandable conditioning. However, sometimes when they even get to a place where they can be in a growth mindset or things like that, sometimes people still relapse and revert to being miserable. So that's I feel you.
Mm.
I'm not in a place at my point in my life where I want to hear somebody's misery.
like,
Like,
come on, especially if you've been through a much harder situation, you're like, we don't even know how good we have it here. Like
yes.
there are some jobs that are like the worst. There are some life situations that are just the worst. And if you're in a decent place where you've got shelter, you're paid appropriately, for the most part, your boss leaves you alone. Like that's pretty good. You get a lunch break. That's pretty good. Like just enjoy that. Just keep that.
Exactly, and especially since, I don't talk about my main job a lot, but I
Yeah.
work with something called Afro Vegan Society, and we do a lot of, like, outreach in the Black community talking
Mm.
about veganism, healthy li food justice, climate justice, all those types of things, and for my job, I have to learn about how people's lives suck, basically, that's
Oh,
basically my
yeah.
job.
That's a lot.
So exactly, it's a lot, it's heavy, I had to, like, take time to charge after that, but just like what you said, it's kind of like because of that, I know that people's situations can be much worse. But
Mhm.
once again, people are very addicted to feeling like they have to be miserable. They feel like that's a normal part of life. But I do not believe that. I am a firm believer that life is meant to be enjoyed. We're meant to experience bliss, ecstasy, joy, well, ecstasy that you get from your own self naturally,
Right,
but
right.
bliss, ecstasy, joy, happiness, peace, harmony, we're meant to experience that because that's what pure consciousness is. So like we just lost ourselves along the way and it's not our fault. But that's another reason why negative energy affects me so much because I feel like life isn't about struggle or
Mhm.
suffering, but some people really do choose that.
And it's like, why?
Yes.
Why?
Like choose better. You know what I mean? There's so many different things.
Yeah, I know. I think I've seen you, you might have even written that verbatim on your website. I looked at both. Which came first, the website or the Instagram?
Oh, wow. I think it's my Instagram, and to be honest, thank you for checking out my website. My website is old.
You
I haven't updated it. It
we
has
gotta
to
come
be
correct and do the research when we're talking with somebody. But
true, true. But yeah, it's been like 4 years since I've updated it. It's gonna happen. It's in the works.
yeah.
I speak it, but yeah, it's definitely the Instagram, I think. Yeah.
Do you have more the most fun with Instagram out of any of the platforms that you're on? I know you're on a few.
Definitely, yeah, I like Instagram the best. I started in 2013 when I first, went vegan,
Oh, okay.
and that's when I first went vegan. I got, like, really more deep. I've always been very spiritually in tune, but got deeper into it after being vegan, and I still identify with my name, the Soulful Veganista, because that's who I still am who I am now still. But, of course, the style came along the way. I was more focused on the vegan part and blah, blah. But yeah, Twitter, I don't understand Twitter that much. Facebook, I don't, Facebook's not my thing. And even though I spend as little time on Instagram as possible because I am a marketing director for my main job, and that's
Oh,
very
okay.
exhausting within itself. I have to do
Yeah.
social media for that. But I do enjoy Instagram. I can tell people can see that I'm not on it as much as I used to be. There was a point in time where I was on it 24/7, but, I know that I feel much better when I take time for myself off of social media.
Yeah, you have
Mhm.
to. Is it just feeling that energy when you know you need a break? You're like, "Ooh, okay, we need a minute." You
Oh,
could
yeah,
feel it.
it's icky, yeah, like, I just and on top of that, I there's better thing this is probably gonna sound kinda mean, but, of course, people scroll for fun and,
Yeah.
you get to connect with people online from across the world, and you see awesome things, but at the same time, I've been on Instagram so much in my life for almost 10 years to the point where it's kind of like, I just have better things to do. I have hobbies, I need to rest, I have to
Mhm.
work. I wanna put on some makeup right now. I wanna eat something delicious right now. I want to bake right now. I've replaced a lot of the time I used to have on Instagram with things that fill me up inside. And
Mhm.
because of that, it allows me to not feel obsessed with being online like I used to. There was a point in time where it was an obsession for me, and I felt
Yeah.
like I wasn't worthy or I felt like I wasn't relevant unless I was on Instagram all the time, posting 3
Mhm.
times a day, on
Yeah.
stories 24 hours a day. It was way too much and it really got me nowhere. But I like that I'm still in the vibe I am in by
Yeah.
doing less and I still get to have my cake and eat it too. So, I
It's the
still get to do
best.
yeah, I still get to create my content. I still get to connect with my community. I still get to do what I do and empower others, but I don't have to be online 24/7 to do that.
No.
That's what I've learned.
Right. Do you think that maybe diving more into the spiritual parts of your life has maybe just helped you be more aware of that in general, like when you need a break from social media?
Absolutely, absolutely, because not only just being like feminine aligned or being connected to the universe or whatever, I just being present with myself. Most of the time, I like to meditate. I don't do it. I'm not even someone that meditates like 2 hours a day. Like, there are people who can do that. I meditate when I wake up, when I go to bed at night, and then sometimes during the day when I really need to. But being that present, learning how to be present and doing those practices during the day, every day, as a true spiritual practice,
Mhm.
as a lifestyle, allows me to understand when I'm feeling upset about something, when I'm having resistance towards something. So, for example, like I noticed that when I'm doing my social media in the morning personally for myself, I only have like honestly, like, a good 30 minutes before I can feel that feeling in my throat or something. There's, like, a feeling
Mm.
I get in my throat or my stomach or even in my head where it's like, "Okay, that's enough." Irritated, too much overload, so many flashing lights, so many people doing this and blah, blah. It's, like, overstimulating for me, and
Mhm.
that's when I'm like, "Alright, bye. Peace. Bye, Instagram. See you tomorrow." And, there are people who say that they miss me, but it's like, "Look, honey, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow."
Yeah.
Ain't worth it.
No, it has nothing to do with you, it's about me. It's
Ain't personal. Exactly. Exactly.
I get it. Well, what can we look forward to from you moving forward?
Oh, well, I'm just gonna say it, who cares? So, I'm in the middle of figuring out how I'm gonna be able to coach people. I
Mm,
want to make courses to help people learn shadow work, learn about the subconscious mind, learn how to seduce, learn about dark femininity, anything in that nature to help empower people to live authentically, to get what they want in this life, and just to not worry about the little things, but see the bigger picture of everything, to receive their abundance without resistance,
mm,
and to know that they are deserving of more and that they are worthy of having what they're here to, came on this plane to do. So I'm in the works of figuring out how I'm going to execute all that. So people can stay tuned for that. I'm always going to be making my content, even if it's a few times a week. I'm going to be making my content to make sure that once again, I'm uplifting others to not be scared of their darkness, to be able to express themselves fully in the way that they see fit, and to just like be unbothered, really. I'm gonna still
mm.
be making my YouTube videos. I post weekly on my YouTube channel that, goes into all those topics. Once again, I'm gonna probably have my fashion and all those types of things sprinkled in there. I like to focus on the shadow work things and everything that is umbrellaed under that more. But I do notice that people do like what I wear and like how I express myself and things like that. So I'm gonna always sprinkle that in as well. But yeah, things like that, just a bunch of content coming up. And what else? I feel like there's something else. But yeah, just expanding in that way.
Love it, and I'm here for all of it. I can't wait to see. Jamila, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and thank you for everything you're doing and keeping it interesting on the gram. I love it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.